most famous physical therapist on the internet.
Hi there, folks. I'm Bob Schrupp, physical therapist.
Brad Heineck, physical
We
therapist.
are the most famous physical therapists on the internet.
In our opinion, of course, Bob.
Today we're going to go over 7 ways to lift when you have back pain and sciatica. I guess you could say we're going to teach you how to lift correctly.
Right.
Because it can have a bad influence on your back.
Right. And actually, even if you don't have back pain, you should lift this way as well to
That's
prevent
a very
problems.
good point. That's a very good point, Brad. This can keep you out of our office.
Right.
So let's start off, Brad. The first one that I like to do is actually teach people to lift correctly by doing like posture squats.
Yep.
Or booyah stick squats. I guess we could put them in either way.
Sure.
There's a lot of ways to do it here. One is without anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to work on locking the back basically, and you want most of the movement coming from the hip.
Right.
So I'm not going like this. I'm not bending the back. I'm keeping this all nice and straight like it's in a cast.
Absolutely.
And what I do a lot of times is put my arms up like this because it's working my posture muscles then.
Right.
My legs are quite wide apart, and I'm squatting down like this. And I'm not able to go down that far. But just by doing this, it's strengthening all the muscles, and it's teaching me.
Right. So his back is nice. I'm just using the booyah stick to show how he maintains that locked in or that straight back, if you'll. And actually, it's not a straight back. You're arching your low back slightly, and they call that a lordosis, and that's where your back is at its strongest.
And what I have found, and I've been doing these almost daily now, is that when I do come to lift something like this, I automatically get into the wide position because I can get lower. I got the weight almost more on my heels, Brad. I'm not leaning forward so my knees don't go beyond my toes.
Sure.
Here. And I'm leaning back like this, and then I can keep my back pretty straight when I'm lifting.
Right here. Now, if you do have back pain, the rule we always say is don't lift.
Right.
You know, have someone else do it. But I understand, and you know, people have jobs, they have things at home. You just need to get things done. So take your time. The thing about getting your feet wide apart is probably one of the biggest things I have, particularly, and I don't know if I should say this, but usually with females,
they tend to want to keep their legs apart.
The knees get in the way, and it just makes everything more complicated and stress on the back.
Well, that's been a surprise to me, Brad, because you know, I always worked on squats kind of just at a comfortable width, but now I'm going a lot wider, and your legs get, you know, develop the strength to be able to do so.
Right.
And I found out the last time I was shoveling even that I was doing more this, and it was just keeping my back so much straighter, in a better position.
Yeah, without thinking about it.
Yeah, another way to do squats is to do the squats with the booyah stick.
Yeah.
So basically, you're going to get everything all lined up. This is going to test you to make sure everything's lined up, because now there's 3 points of contact: head, mid-back, and right in the spine, or the sacrum there, kind of lower pelvis.
Right.
Now, when you do it with this, now you know you're keeping the back straight.
Yeah.
It's keeping you honest, basically.
You know, if your head goes forward, it's not right. If it comes away from your butt there, it's not right. All three.
Yep. And we were having people name this, and some people called it the dipstick. So you're dipping with the stick. All right, let's move on, Brad. Another way to pick things up, a lot of times to keep the back straighter, is a lunge.
Sure.
You want to show that, Brad?
Sure.
So
if I was going to lift this toolbox up, I can actually come forward like this, keeping that good posture. If I think of my shoulders back, that typically gets my back in that posture.
Now see how he's dipping down, and it's just a lot easier to get the back straight and keep it straight.
And I'm going to lift up. This is actually pretty heavy.
This is heavy, I know.
This is a real toolbox.
I go, thanks for picking something really heavy, Brad.
And at that time, I did it with a staggered stance versus a squared stance. But they're all good. And if I do the lunge again, and then you can use your knee. You know, people that may have bad knees, this may not be the best one for them. It all depends. Everyone's a little different.
That's why we're trying to give you a lot of different options here. Now, this next one is, especially if you're going to like reach into a bin or something like that.
Right.
You know, they call it the golfer's lift because a lot of times golfers will hold on to their putter.
Sure.
And they'll go over like this, and then they'll reach down and grab their golf ball out of the hole.
Right.
So it's basically, you can go to the edge of a bin if you're going to reach inside of it and grab it like this, and it keeps the back straight while you're reaching in.
Yeah, a real commonplace is, well, I shouldn't say this, get into the laundry, into your, it's really too tall. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't work.
I regress.
So, okay. Next one is called the saw lift. This is when you can pick up an object with one arm. So it's not that heavy, or not heavy enough that, but you also have something nearby it to give you some support.
Right.
So this is supporting your back and kind of giving you a counter force, and then you can grab onto the object here, and you see how I'm kind of sawing.
Right.
Or you can call it like the bow and arrows. I'm bringing back the string of the bow.
Yeah. You could even incorporate a little bit of the golfer's lift and put one leg back when you do that. Yep.
There we go. The golfer's saw lift.
There you go. Combination.
All right, next one. This is a tough one. When you have to keep your legs straight and you have to lift forward. Like, let's say you're lifting, I do it with patients in bed. You're lifting over and you're trying to lift them over.
Yeah.
Or shove them off to the side.
Shove them. Or try
transferring them. But, the biggest thing with that is, one, to try to avoid that one. It's not a great one to do. But you got to keep your back straight. You can't have it rounded out. You got to think about that. Everything in alignment, everything locked in place.
Right.
And it's really helpful during these times to tighten up your abdomen.
Right.
Really makes a difference. Last year I was shoveling snow and my back was really getting sore. I don't know if you remember last year, Brad. We had snow up to here.
Yeah, it was snowy.
Yeah, and my back was getting so sore, and all I did is I started tightening my abdomen every time I picked up the snow.
Yep.
Took away the back pain.
Well, it's just like putting on a back brace,
So leaning forward, tighten up that abdomen. You might also vary how much arch you have. We talked about this in some of the other videos.
Pelvic tilt.
Yep, by doing a pelvic tilt. Sometimes having a little more arch feels better. Sometimes having a little bit less arch feels better. Get it locked in to the position that feels the best for you.
Correct. I was going to say, making a bed is everyone, So the number one I always say is don't make it if it's bothered your back. But obviously, people like to have a neat bed. Some people do. But putting one knee up like this can really take some stress off of the back.
Or putting your hand down.
Or another combination. And just try these things. And, if your back feels a lot better doing that, you're doing the right thing.
But seriously, when you're in the throes of back pain, a lot of times it's just better not to make your bed for 6 weeks or whatever. I know that sounds good, maybe a little crazy, but what's going to happen when
I just have my wife do it.
Well, that, but also what happens when you have surgery?
Right.
You won't be able to make bed.
Right.
So, you can act like you've just had surgery and what would you do then?
Right.
Do the same things then.
It's the pseudo-surgery.
Pseudo-surgery, right. So, next one, a lot of times it helps when you're lifting things to put your elbows on your knees to give you a little support. It gives you that extra, it takes the weight off the back again, and it can help you. I was going to say, you can also do this with shoveling sometimes.
Yep.
You can actually, getting down like this, and you get that leverage to really lift up heavy snow.
So right here, that elbow is going into that thigh, which takes stress off. Plus, you can get more work done that way.
Yeah, I honestly don't use that very much unless it's really heavy snow and I'm really trying to give myself the leverage. I usually just go down like this and keep it that way. So the final thing, number 7, we want you to keep in mind, even when you're lifting stuff off of a high position, like a counter like this, you still want to keep good posture.
Sure.
You still want to put the back in the locked in position straight.
Yeah.
Because the tendency is, well, you're thinking it's a high position, I really don't need to pay that big attention to it. And then you start rounding out like this.
Right.
So you really want to, no matter what you're lifting from this position, keep the back straight.
And that's up. Even if it is as light as a pillow, you maintain the same mechanics.
That's a good point, Brad. I used to teach this all the time. I don't care if you're picking a pencil off the floor.
Right.
You want to lift that in correct position. Yeah, like a squat or a lunge, because your back will round out, and without weight at all, there's still a lot of stress on your back.
I've had people say, I was just picking up some Kleenex off the floor and my back went out. It's, it can happen
I remember about one of our pro football players, the Vikings, Brad.
They're pro now.
Yeah, they're pro now. But he was scraping the ice off his car, and his back went out.
Sure.
And to be honest, that doesn't sound as unusual as it does to. I mean, you or I, Brad, because we know you're bending and twisting,
Sure.
and you're actually kind of violently pushing. So it is more stretching your top, but that's the thing that can happen when you're doing things that you don't think are putting stress on your back.
Right.
You can hurt your back. So, all right, watch the next video in our series.
All right. Take care.